Hey there language learners, hope you're doing well. Let me start by saying this, English isn't my first language and I once struggled to speak it fluently, just like many of you might have experienced. After finishing high school, I found myself in a fancy school environment. The thought of speaking English in front of my classmates and teachers made me really nervous. I was worried about making mistakes and being laughed at. Perhaps you have felt the same way at some point. But here's the thing. Despite those initial fears, despite not going to a fancy private English school, I managed to score the perfect band 9 on the IELTS test. Today in this video, I am about to share with you how I did that. How I managed to score perfect band 9 on the IELTS test. I'm excited to share some insider tips with you on how to do your best on the IELTS speaking test. And guess what? You don't need perfect English to do well on your IELTS test. Many people think that you have to speak flawlessly, but that's just not true. The IELTS exam is more about expressing yourself effectively, especially in the writing and speaking test. Sure, it's important to have a good grasp of English, but you don't have to be perfect. What you really need is the right guidance and techniques to prepare for the IELTS speaking test. So if you don't know me yet, I am Simar, a CELTA certified English language teacher with over 10 years of experience helping people like you prepare for the IELTS test. And I have scored band 9 on all 4 modules of the IELTS test. In today's video, I will be sharing the strategies that helped me improve my English speaking skills. Get ready to learn some practical tips that will help you succeed in the IELTS speaking test. So without further ado, let's get started. Welcome back guys to Crack IELTS with Simar. If you haven't yet, please do subscribe to my channel so you can get all the latest updates related to your IELTS preparation on your homepage. So when I started my IELTS preparation, I wasn't sure about what my English level was as per IELTS marking criteria. It could have been band 5.5 or band 6 at that time. I wasn't able to speak fluently in English and my pronunciation wasn't that good at that time. I think there were few things that I did to improve my English speaking skills. Obviously, there were few things that I was doing for my IELTS speaking modules that were helping me on my IELTS writing test as well, which you will learn as I'm going to unfold the things that I did to improve my speaking test. So obviously you might not be aiming for a band 9, but you may be aiming for a band 7, 8 or even a band 9. So I'm sure these tips that I'm gonna be sharing with you in this video will be helpful to you guys to improve your IELTS speaking skills. I did a lot of things to improve my English speaking skills, but in this video, I'm gonna be sharing with you 4 things that I feel helped me the most to improve my English speaking skills. So the 4 things that I'm going to be talking about in this video include working on my pronunciation, working on my fluency in speaking English, learning new words and phrases, and learning new sentence structures. So these are the 4 things that I worked on when I was working on my IELTS speaking skills. Now you'll notice that all these things are related to the criteria on the IELTS speaking test. Let me share with you one by one what exactly I did in each of these 4 areas. So first thing first, pronunciation. Firstly, the biggest misconception I had in my mind was that I need to sound like a native English language speaker to get a perfect 9 on the IELTS speaking test. And I am actually talking about the accent here, but that's not the case. The reality is, English is a global language with countless dialects, accents, and variations. Your unique way of speaking adds character and authenticity to your communication. So the key here is communication. But there are definitely some of the things that I did to improve my English pronunciation. And the first thing I did was learning features of English pronunciation. If this sounds like foreign to you, you must watch this video. You may not have noticed that there is something called features of English pronunciation, and maybe your tutor or your mentor has never talked about that. So you really need to know that what are these features of English pronunciation. So the three important tools here are stress, intonation, and rhythm. Let's talk about these tools one by one. The stress is further of two types, word stress and sentence stress. So let's talk about what is stress. In English, certain syllables within words are pronounced with more emphasis than others. So just think of syllables as parts of a word. So this emphasis is known as word stress. Let me give you an example. For example, in the word elephant, the stress falls on the second syllable, elephant. So I'm not stressing the first syllable, I'm stressing the second syllable. Similarly, in the words like banana or orange, I am stressing different syllables. Whether it's first syllable or second syllable, that's your task to identify. I want you guys to post this in the comment section, whether I'm stressing the first syllable or second syllable. Now let's talk about sentence stress. Beyond English words, English sentences also have stress patterns. Interesting, isn't it? Generally, content words such as nouns, verbs, adjectives, and adverbs receive more stress than function words like articles, prepositions, and pronouns. Let's take an example here. So, in the sentence, I want to go to the store, the stressed words are go and store, while the function words I, do, and the are less emphasized. Even when you are listening to native English language speakers, you might notice the stress on different words in a sentence. The next tool is intonation. Intonation refers to the rise and fall of pitch in speech. It adds meaning, emotion, and emphasis to sentences. For example, a rising intonation at the end of a statement can indicate uncertainty or a question, while falling intonation can convey assertiveness or completion. Let me give you an example, and I'm going to repeat the exact same sentence with different intonation. So the sentence is, you're going to the party tonight. And another way of saying that is, you're going to the party tonight. So you'll see that if I am going up at the end of the sentence, it actually indicates that I'm asking a question. Let's say that again. You're going to the party tonight? So I'm going up at the end. It indicates that I'm actually asking a question. But if I'm saying you're going to the party tonight and I'm going down at the end, that actually confirms something. So it doesn't actually ask a question. It actually confirms that something is happening. The next thing is rhythm. English has a rhythmic pattern determined by the alterations of stressed and unstressed syllables. This rhythm gives speech a natural flow and makes it easier to understand. Practice maintaining this rhythm by paying attention to stress patterns and syllable lengths in words and sentences. Let's take an example. I'm going to the store to buy some milk. Did you see how I stress some syllables in this sentence? And this is how you can actually sound natural when you're talking in English. By mastering these features of English pronunciation, stress, intonation, and rhythm, you can enhance your spoken English and communicate more effectively in both casual conversations and formal settings. And I'm talking about IELTS test here as well. So keep practicing and you'll see noticeable improvement over time. Correct English pronunciation can be challenging, but with consistent practice and exposure to native English language speakers, improvement is achievable. A helpful technique is to actively listen to native English language speakers. Paying attention to their pronunciations by mimicking these nuances repeatedly, you can gradually internalize and incorporate them into your own speech. Remember, practice makes perfect. So let's move on to the next part. So one of the other steps I took to enhance my pronunciation and fluency was recording myself regularly. And each day I made a habit of recording my practice sessions for part 1, 2, and 3 of the IELTS exam. After recording, I would compare my speech with that of native speakers to pinpoint areas for improvement. This process helped me refine my pronunciation, intonation, and fluency. I focused on speaking naturally, matching the pace and rhythm of the fluent speakers. By consistently reviewing my recordings, I could monitor my progress and make necessary adjustments to sound more confident and authentic. And recording myself not only boosted my confidence, but also allowed me to witness my language journey's advancement. To assess pronunciation accuracy, tools like Google can be useful. I highly recommend this technique for anyone seeking to enhance their English speaking skills. It not only helps identify areas for improvement, but also serves as a motivating tool to track development. Self-assessment fosters awareness of strengths and weaknesses, enabling tailored practice sessions. Remember, practice, dedication, and perseverance are key to achieving language proficiency. Keep recording, listening, and refining your speech. The improvement will be evident. The next thing I did to improve my speaking was to learn new phrases instead of words. I discovered that incorporating phrases into my vocabulary not only enhanced my fluency, but also improved my ability to communicate effectively. I started by learning common phrases used in everyday conversations and gradually expanded to more advanced expressions. For example, I remember I started with learning phrases related to expressing my opinions on the IELTS exam. As you know, expressing opinions is very common both in speaking and writing tests. So when asked about my opinion on a certain topic, I would use phrases like, "From my perspective, I believe that," or "It is widely accepted that." So these phrases, or this variety in phrases, not only helped me structure my answers more coherently, but also showcased my ability to express ideas effectively. Similarly, by using these phrases in context, I was able to convey my thoughts more clearly and naturally. This approach helped me sound more like a native speaker and enabled me to express myself with greater confidence. Learning phrases also enriched my language skills and made my speech more engaging and varied. I found that practicing phrases in different situations allowed me to adapt my language skills to various contexts, making my communication more versatile. So, I'd say overall, learning phrases instead of isolated words proved to be a valuable strategy in my journey to improve my English speaking skills. So let me give you some examples of how you can learn English phrases in context. The first one, the most effective method, reading books or articles. When you encounter a new phrase while reading, try to understand its meaning based on the surrounding sentences. Sometimes just looking at the sentence, situation in which that phrase is used, you can easily identify the meaning of that, and then you can learn that phrase in that context. For example, if you come across the phrase "break the ice" in a story. By the way, that's the first phrase that I learned when I was reading books, preparing for my IELTS journey. So, break the ice. If you see that, you might understand its meaning as initiating conversation in a social situation. So, example could be, at the party, someone told a joke to break the ice and get everyone talking. So it's easy to learn phrases in context than to learn isolated words. So make it a habit when you read and come across a phrase that you're not familiar with, write it down, and also write down in what situations or in what context you will be using that phrase. The next method is watching TV shows or movies. Pay attention to how phrases are used in dialogue. Context can provide clues about the meaning of unfamiliar phrases. For example, in a scene where a character says, "It's not rocket science,"
you can infer that they mean something is not overly complicated.
So when you're listening, just make it a habit to predict in that context what exactly could be the meaning of that specific phrase. And that's how you can build more vocabulary, build more phrases in your phrases bank. The third thing I did was listening to podcasts or conversations. In natural conversations, people often use common phrases. Pay attention to how these phrases are used in different contexts. For example, "She's burning the midnight oil to finish her project" suggests that someone is working late into the night. and then write that phrase. Now, the last thing that I did to learning new phrases was writing in English. When writing in English, try incorporating phrases you have learned in appropriate context. This reinforces your understanding and helps you remember them. An example of that could be, in an email to a friend, you might write, "I can't make it to the party tonight. I am feeling under the weather." Now, in this specific message or email, you've actually used two really good phrases, and those are "make it" and the other one is "under the weather." Now, obviously, make it means when you are successful in doing something. So in this instance, you're saying, "I can't make it," means you can't do it. You can't come to the party. And I'm feeling under the weather. So under the weather means you're not feeling well. So obviously, when you use these phrases in context, that's how you get to the habit of using these phrases that you have learned to use them in your real life, in both IELTS writing and speaking test. I remember when I was learning phrases, I used to read my emails very carefully, whether it's a university email or an email from a family member or a friend. It's just, I wanted to identify what are the different phrases that the person have used, what are the different sentence structures that the person may have used in that email. So that curiosity was always there that helped me learn English. The final step I took to enhance my English speaking skills was to study various sentence structures in English to diversify my expressions. I made it a habit to identify interesting sentence patterns in newspapers, articles, and videos. So this not only enriched my vocabulary, but also improved my ability to communicate effectively in English. It boosted my confidence and expression in different scenarios. If you're preparing for IELTS, you would know that this not only improved my speaking, but also helped in my writing. Obviously, in the writing exam, one of the things that an examiner is looking for is variety of sentence structures. So I used to be always curious, and I am still at the moment. If I see a different sentence structure that I am not familiar with, I will just write that sentence structure down. So whenever I have to use that sentence structure, that's there with me, so I can use that sentence structure. And sometimes you actually remember those sentences as a whole, and it is so easy. I remember I learned one of the sentence structures which was related to globalization. When I was writing an essay related to globalization, I could remember the whole sentence. I know it's not easy to remember the sentences, but this is how my brain was processing at that time when I was preparing. So I was into learning new sentence structures, new phrases, and I wanted to make sure that it gives me confidence, it gives me that variety that I can use in both my speaking and writing tests. Moreover, mastering diverse sentence structures helped me sound more fluent and natural while conversing. So whenever you see a sentence structures that you are not familiar with, I urge you to write it and practice using it. It will not only improve your speaking, like I said, it will also help you in your writing test as well. So these are the key things that I did to improve my English. Remember, every small step you take towards improving your English skill brings you closer to your goal. Believe in yourself and your abilities to learn and grow. If you found this video helpful, make sure you hit the like button and subscribe to my channel Crack IELTS with Simmer for more language learning resources and to join a community of like-minded individuals on a journey to mastering English. Together we can achieve great things. Thank you so much for watching the video and happy learning. I'll see you guys in another video.